One of the nice things about David's transient lifestyle is he gets to try out lots of different jobs, sometimes things he never envisioned himself doing.
This is a big move for me. I have a lot of things, and, well, truthfully, you don't look like the moving man type.
Oh, well, believe me, I'm stronger than I look. And I really need the ride. I'm looking for a job up north.
What do you do?
Right now? Right now, I'm a driver, rider, mover.
Okay.
Driving a lady to New Hampshire, for example. That's Renee Stevens, and basically she's going home.
Let's go get the piano. Just kidding.
By the way, it's on the 8th floor and there's no elevator. This is going to be a good trip. That kind of goofy humor is a perfect offset to David's morose moping. Her real name is Carol Baxter, and I couldn't find a blasted thing about her. So you now know as much as I do, which ain't much.
Mr. Lewitt.
Yep, Fred Lewitt. What can I do for you folks?
I've come about the Stevens house.
Oh, sorry. It's no longer for sale.
Well, I hope not. I'll have no place to sleep.
Well, I'm sure you could find a...
Mr. Lewitt. I'm surprised. Don't you recognize me? Renee Stevens.
Renee! Of course! Well, why didn't you say you were coming?
I wanted to surprise you.
Certainly did.
She grew up here, and the house she mentioned belongs to her. He's been trying to sell the place without success for various reasons.
Look at you. My, if you haven't changed into a beautiful young lady. Well, we always knew you would. You were the apple of your folks' eye.
He just said that in passing, but keep it in the back of your mind for later.
David Barrett, you don't know me.
Won't you come in?
Well, I'm afraid we really need to get to the house. Do you have the keys, Mr. Lewitt?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm certainly surprised to see you. Your lawyer wrote that you'd handle the arrangements for the sale of the house from New York.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not putting the house up for sale. I've decided to live there.
Now, why would a pretty young girl like you want to live in that drafty old place?
Because it's hers and she wants to? He's trying very hard to talk her out of it. One has to wonder why. Whatever the reason, it's not working. Just give her the keys, please. Meanwhile, David is watching all this and wondering what he stepped in this time. He mentioned a tragedy that happened there. Renee feels the need to explain it to David.
I had a twin sister. She drowned in the river.
I'm sorry.
It was ages ago. We were only 10 years old.
She left town after that because her doctor recommended it.
Welcome home, Renee.
And you are... I know he looks like a very young Michael Douglas, but his name is John O'Connell, and we previously saw him in Wonder Woman. The show continues its trend of hiring young, new kids in town and giving them a bit of a break. We've seen it all season, and I can honestly say we haven't been disappointed yet. Looks like the local kids have been using the house as a play area. They don't appear to have done any harm, but Renee wants to know who that was. It's funny how there's always a dark, spooky basement nearby when you need one.
Renee? What is it? All right, Renee, sit down.
Me.
Now relax. Try to relax. Hold your arm and relax. Now try to be calm.
He gets her a bag to breathe in so she can get her body under control again.
Murmur. My heart.
Do the vacuum. Relax.
A heart murmur isn't that unusual. Lots of people have them. My wife had one for a long time. It might or might not be a problem depending on what's making the sound. In my wife's case, one of her heart valves was wonky and it eventually resolved itself. A young friend of mine had one caused by something more severe and it took her away before she was 40. Saying I have a heart murmur is like saying something's wrong in there. Lots more information needed. David says it sounds fine. She's still having trouble calming down and talking about what she saw.
Little girl. She ran out the other door. And I tried to stop her, but she pulled away. That's when she did this.
But that's not the worst. While she didn't see the child's face, from the back, everything about her looked exactly like Becky.
David!
What is it?
Never mind the little girl. Let's meet George.
Becky loved George.
George?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
That's my granddad. Had him mounted on rockers. So she could play with him.
You're kidding.
Wait till you see the next room. It's the one George Washington would have slept in. If we'd been on the right side.
Fine way to greet your cousin. Hello, Renee.
Oh yes, we can also meet Bernard. He's been looking after the place.
Thanks for not selling.
I'm afraid it isn't all good news. I'm moving in. You won't have the run of the place anymore.
Well, I've never had the run of the place. I use this for the office and go home to sleep.
A little tension between these two. Bernard acts jealous that Renee inherited the house, and someone has already recruited a local kid to mess with Renee's head.
Have you been down to the mill yet?
No. But I will. Come on, David.
David is cataloging all this stuff because, as usual, he's not just a driver and mover. He's appointed himself her guardian angel, too.
Becky and I used to play here when we were kids. We weren't supposed to, but she was always talking me into coming down here. The river runs underground here, so they built the mill over it.
We don't know what they milled here, but for its age, the place is in pretty good shape. A few rotten boards on the walkways here and there, but the water wheel is still going.
What a great old place.
David, please, you're not allowed. It's not safe down there.
Is it deep?
Not very. Only about 5 feet at the wheel. But the current is strong.
That's also where most of the rotten boards are, thanks to the moisture. But most significant, it's where Becky fell. So why did she insist on coming down here? A lot of things she does aren't making sense.
No! It was Becky!
No,
It
Renee,
was
Renee,
Becky!
that's impossible. It couldn't have been Becky.
I know it couldn't have been Becky, but it was. I saw her. She was in the house when we arrived.
Didn't see Becky.
You think I wouldn't remember my own sister?
Renee, she's been dead for 20 years. She fell by the mill and drowned.
I know. I was there.
Then you know that Becky couldn't have done this.
Bernard thinks it's a bad idea for her to stay here. She tells David that if he wants to leave, she'll understand. As if.
Sorry, Mr. Lord.
Well, no luck, eh?
I'm not giving up.
Do you like doing Lionel Prescott's dirty work for him? Letting him keep those beautiful nails clean?
What do you care?
I care. I care that he has single-handedly torn down most of New Oxford's historical monuments. This is one estate you're not going to transform into a shopping mall.
That explains a lot. Rich developer, greedy broker, put it together and it equals, could he be the one who's trying to drive Renee out of the house with his stuff?
Very noble, but I don't believe you own this property.
Not yet.
Or is he doing it to get her to sell to him? Whichever one it is needs a severe talking to after a good hard kick in the slats to get their attention.
This house isn't leaving the family.
His motivations seem noble enough, but we know how appearances are. David is a good example. He's for real. What you see is what you get. There just happen to be certain parts that you may not wish to see.
Baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. If that mockingbird don't sing, Mama's gonna buy you a diamond ring. If that diamond ring gets broke, Mama's gonna buy you a billy goat.
David isn't the only one who's hearing this.
Becky, it is you.
I won't talk to you.
Where are you going?
Come with me and you'll find out.
Becky?
Okay, somebody is taking this way too far. David follows them both to the basement.
You'll be the sweetest little baby in town.
Becky, stop singing.
Shh, he'll hear us.
Don't run away from me.
Why not?
You're not being fair.
Fair? Becky, play fair?
Renee?
Make him go away.
This is getting creepy. He hears them exit through another door.
Renee! Renee, who's with you? Hello?
My sister can't talk to you now.
Renee? Renee?
That was just about his only source of light. To get out of here, he needs to see what he's doing. There's a wooden bar stool nearby. He can stand on that to turn the light on. I guess the stool disagrees. As we know, the Hulk's first order of business is generally to get revenge on whatever hurt him. Today is no exception. And now that that's out of the way, he remembers that there's a damsel in distress somewhere. We probably don't want to know whether that was a copy or an original antique. No, not the piano! He's still trying to process all this, but if that's where his damsel is, he should be heading there too. While he entertains us picking a fight with George and his pals, Renee has lost sight of Becky and is returning to the house. Since she's not in distress anymore and he already got his vengeance on the inanimate objects, he's not sure what to do. The odd thing is, the doll is dripping wet. While Renee comes back inside and ponders all the damage, he sits down to contemplate the doll.
My God, what happened? That doll! Where did you get it?
I don't know. It must have been in the room.
That's the doll Becky tried to take away from me. It fell in the water, and she went after it.
Now she's sure Becky is back, wanting revenge. Bernard is trying to tell her that she's having hallucinations. David acknowledges that he heard a child's voice, but that means someone is going to great lengths to get her out of here. He insists that she stay in town tonight.
Hello, David. Well, where's Renee?
I haven't seen her yet this morning. She's still upstairs asleep.
Oh, well, I thought maybe she changed her mind about selling the place. I don't suppose she'd mind losing a few minutes beauty sleep. She certainly doesn't need it, does she?
I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't disturb her.
And in case you missed the implications, that's the final word on the subject, so don't push it.
How did you know she was here?
Well, I called at the house. Bernard told me as he was showing me to the door. He's not the politest of young men, is he?
No, but he seems to be a good judge of character.
How did you happen to go there?
Well, since she decided to move out, I thought maybe she had a change of heart.
Did you know the sisters when Becky was alive?
Oh, sure. Everybody did.
Your average small town is like that. Everybody knows everybody else. I've lived in a couple of little towns like that. I have to say, in retrospect, I hated it.
We used to call them Sunshine and Rain.
Why?
Well, because of their personalities. Renee was Sunshine. But Becky, she was always getting dirt on her clothes and getting into trouble, falling out of trees. You know, a real hellraiser. Well, why so curious?
Why so curious about why he's so curious?
Well, just some strange things have been happening up at the house.
Strange? Oh, good Lord, don't tell me about it. I got enough trouble with the Stevens house.
I think we may be about to hear the roar of a great big motive.
Well, I thought I had it sold to Lionel Prescott.
So?
See, what I did was I borrowed some money from Prescott against my commission. Commission I'm not going to get now. Well, you could ruin me.
That sounds like a you problem, dude. It's not her job to bail you out of your own poor decisions.
Why does he want the house so badly?
Make a parking lot, I don't know. You could help me with this, David, you know. Renee listens to you.
No, I'm sorry, I can't.
Well, I'm not asking you to do anything wrong. Just talk some sense to her.
I'm sorry. But thank you for not disturbing her.
Oh, Johnny, I apologize. I forgot you were there. You may go now.
David is checking out the mill some more.
What are you doing here?
I was just looking around. You seem to have a knack for surprising people. How'd you get in here?
There's an entrance through the trap door. How's she doing?
She's resting.
Well, I wish she would get herself some professional help.
A psychiatrist?
It's not the first time we've heard him suggest that. As distraught as she seems to be all the time, and as easy as it is to rattle her with a fake ghost, maybe he's right.
You know, this is not the first time she's had problems.
What do you mean, problems?
Well, she had a breakdown or something when Becky died.
Can you blame her? She's 10 years old and she watches her twin sister die. That'd scramble any kid's brain.
That's why Rollins said she should go away.
Rollins?
The family doctor.
Bernard. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but that's my point. All those years, she didn't even come near this house. When she finally did, look what happened.
Maybe as painful as it is and as cruel as it is on the part of whoever's doing this to her, it could be it's something that needs to happen. Maybe it's part of her unscrambling process. David wants to talk with Dr. Rollins.
Dr. Rollins?
Yes? If you need a doctor, I'm retired.
No, I don't need a doctor.
Oh, well, sit down. Sit down.
Thank you.
Hey, we just saw John Lormer in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. I profiled him there, so when this video is done, you can check him out there.
So you collect coins then?
No. No, I haven't collected coins since I was a kid.
Well, I'm sorry. I guess we won't have very much to talk about then.
Oh, yes, we will. Renee Stevens.
Why, I haven't seen her since the accident. I'm afraid I can't tell you very much.
But that's just what I need to know. Right after the accident, you suggested that Renee leave New Oxford. Why?
Well, she was very upset about the death of her sister. Very detached.
And you didn't send her to a psychiatrist or a counselor because...
I didn't have to examine her to know that the change would be a good idea.
Why?
I was afraid the strain would be too much on her heart.
Her heart?
Yes. Renee had a murmur.
David starts pressing him. What kind of murmur?
Are you a doctor?
I have some background, yes.
Know what a ventricle is?
Yes.
Renee had a ventricular septal defect. Very pronounced. Understand?
That means the wall dividing the two ventricles of her heart had a hole in it. It means oxygenated and non-oxygenated blood can get mixed and cycle through both the lungs and the rest of the body, which leads to all kinds of physical problems. It's something people are born with, and if the hole is big enough, it requires surgery. We don't know exactly how big Renee's was, but it was pronounced enough to worry the doctor. And David isn't even listening right now. Something just occurred to him that shook him to the bone.
She found that picture and she left.
Your young lady. She got in a taxi a little while ago.
Thank you.
He dashes back to the house, but Renee isn't inside. I kept telling him, go to the mill, Dodo, but he wasn't listening. In point of actual fact, as a snooty lawyer might say, we're both wrong. She's out on the patio.
Becky, will you please tell me what's wrong?
Stop it. I told you I wouldn't answer.
Why not?
You took away my doll, and then when I fell in, you didn't even try to save me.
You're wrong. I did try to save you. I just couldn't reach you.
You always do everything wrong. You stole my doll. You stole my life.
That was the last piece of the puzzle. David knows the truth now. Public service announcement. Another Emmy-worthy performance begins right now.
Renee.
You be quiet. Don't you call her that.
Who are you? Are you the little girl I heard singing the other night?
I'm not telling.
She doesn't need to. David will start pressing the issue.
No one can tell us apart.
Dr. Rollins can. I can. We both know that Renee has something wrong with her heart, something that won't go away. When you were sick the other day, I listened to your heart. It was normal.
David, I'm frightened.
Yeah, it's starting to come back to her. Dr. Rollins really dropped the ball with this one.
Stay away. She's going with me to play at the mill.
Now wait, I just want to talk with you.
I don't want to go, Becky.
I told you. I won't talk to you until you call me by my right name.
Yep, she's really Becky. Renee was the one who fell in and drowned.
Why do you want to go to the mill?
To finish the game.
Game? What game? How's it played?
We go to the river, and Renee falls in. And then we don't try to save her.
That's not true. I tried to save you.
And then we tell everyone that Becky died. And spend the rest of your life pretending to be Renee.
And the guilt over what she did is trying to destroy her.
I couldn't tell them Renee died. I loved her so much. Don't you see? If they thought I died, it wasn't so bad.
At 10 years old, she believed this. Remember that passing comment about how Renee was the apple of her parents' eye, and by implication, Becky wasn't? It explains why she was so rebellious, why she was such a handful. She wanted attention like Renee got because of her heart condition. Obviously, their parents never figured that out, and Becky remained the forgotten one.
They were always so gentle with Renee. So I lied. I told them I was Renee.
I'm sure they loved you too, Becky.
Wasn't the same. They would have hated me if I'd lived. And Renee had died.
They're headed to the mill to finish the game because the conclusion of the game is Renee dies like she did before. If she wants to be Renee, that's how we do it. I told you we were in for another Emmy-level performance. I'm impressed enough that I'd like to have gotten to hand her the award myself.
Renee! Renee, open the door! Becky! Becky!
She's not even hearing him. Remember that trap door Bernard mentioned? Yeah, suddenly, so does David.
Becky? Becky, it's all right. Now, Becky, listen to me.
Becky is trying to reach him, but she keeps flashing back to Renee. Except that didn't happen before because Becky weighed a little less when she was 10. Way to screw up the game, David. It's not hard to guess that the next time he comes up, he looks a bit different. As usual, the first order of business is revenge. That water wheel has survived who knows how many decades of use and neglect. It ain't gonna survive this.
Help me!
Okay, it's dead. Go help the lady. He beat up the wheel, he saved the damsel in distress, and he still has no clue what's going on. I think that was my one disappointment with this show, especially since I read all the Hulk comics, watched the cartoons, and really liked the character. At the very least, he should have been able to talk the way he did in the comics. Lou Ferrigno didn't even get to do his own growling. It's dubbed. We won't actually see him change back, but if he was still holding her like that, it had to be a weird experience for her.
If you could have seen how I transformed you when I was hallucinating. Green, huge.
Yeah, pretty crazy, huh? It's time for David to go. He's made her better than he found her, so his job is done. Plus, even if she did think she was hallucinating, the big green guy showed up, so that's his cue to hit the road.
Becky, you know, I still can't get used to it. For all these years, it's Renee that was dead.
I know. Feels so strange.
You didn't take your sister's place on purpose, you know. It was beyond your control.
I'm learning to understand that.
That's going to take a little while, but you do have some marvelous help.
Dr. Green and the Hodge Institute are among the best.
You sure you won't stay here? I could always use extra help.
No, thank you. I really can't.
But Bernard, I think I do owe you an apology.
Yeah, no, forget it. I was wrong, too.
Turns out Bernard is just like David. What you see is what you get. His interest really was in protecting the house from Lewitt and his developer. He acted the way he did because he was afraid the person he knew was Renee was going to be declared mentally incompetent to handle the place, and then Lewitt would have a chance to get his hooks into it. We can suss all that out without being told directly, which is another example of really good writing. Mr. Lewitt is left to sort out his own problems. Maybe he can call one of those debt consolidation places and see if his man will play ball with him. We don't need to care. He was being a bit of a vulture.
And you be good to yourself. Be safe.
I will. Now that I know what self I really am.
I cannot praise Carol Baxter's performance enough. I believed her mind was fractured from 20 years of living a lie and being confronted with it. I believed someone was compelling a child to mess with her head. There was not 1 second when she was on screen that I didn't buy everything she said and did. She didn't do that much according to her filmography, And again, I couldn't find any information at all about her, so I couldn't tell you what she's doing now. I can tell you one good thing. She'll be back in season 4. I'm pretty sure she'll only have one person in her head there, so it should be a lot easier than this one. He just said that in packs. There just happened these